him is the lovely and talented Katie Lee, voice of Sunny Gummy, on her bubble foot. To her left is the lovely and talented Jim Cummings, voice of Gargoyles, Katie Lee. To my left, we have Greg Weisman, creator of Gargoyles. We have Jim Magon, creator of Tailspin, co-creator of Chippendales Mr. Rangers. And next to him, we have, I believe it's an Emmy that you won, some Emmys that you won, isn't it, Lauren? Emmys. How many? Two Emmy Award-winning Mark Zaslow, and also created Tailspin with Jim Magon. I just realized we've got the voice talent on this side, we've got the writing and production talent on this side. Let's play the feud.
Yeah, we would like at some point during the discussion, at least one question sent this way.
That's why I'm going to shut up, and I'm just going to let, I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm going to turn it over to you guys. So hopefully you guys have lots of questions, because I think I'd like to hear from everybody. So, you sir, come on up, and do we have a mic in the audience? If not, no, I'll come to you.
All right, to the gents of the Tailspin, possibly second favorite Disney show after Gargoyles. I don't count Gargoyles. Gargoyles was something completely different. That was special in its own way. It's awesome. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm completely right. The concept of Jungle Book in like a 1940s kind of pulp. Where the hell did you guys come up with that concept? That has bugged me since day one.
Okay, real simply, we were developing a show called B-Players. It was supposed to be the next series that was going to be syndicated, and it started all these B-Players of Disney pantheon, like Clarabelle Cow and the first one. Anyway, Jeffrey Katzenberg very rightly killed it, and they said we need a new pitch immediately. And so Mark and I sat down and we stretched up like that. Successful. And we had an idea that involved Launchpad Quack that never got used for DuckTales, where we only courier stories. And so we gave that to Blue that job. And Blue, by the way, was the star of the place because he did movies.
Who was the second lead in
Ricky Rat.
Ricky Rat?
Yeah. It was Mickey's cousin, Ricky Rat. So just see why the show was killed. Real quickly, we took Baloo, and we took the concept of the courier service, and we sort of matched them together and came up with this kid who surfed on the clouds. And I said, I've always liked the 1940s sort of pulp, 1930s, Indiana Jones sort of pulpy kind of stuff. And we just winged it from there. Some artwork got drawn up, and this show sold in 3 days.
We were watching Tales of the Gold Monkey and Miyazaki and everything, and
Nothing to do with it. It was all us.
And then Dan, the question was, Kid a stand-in from Oakland?
I don't think we ever thought of them that way, but I mean, there was that pop-up-your relationship, yeah.
All right, who's next? Oh, come on, don't chicken out at me now.
Hello, I'm Earl.
Earl! No, where's Earl?
Hey, Jay.
I can see without the hands.
See, when I think about the voice actors for Tailspin, namely Baloo and Kid Cloud Kicker,
Yes.
I remembered that they're the same two voice actors, Ed Gilbert and R.J. Williams, as in the earlier NBC animated series Kissy Burr.
Kissy Burr, right.
was...
We didn't know that when we cast.
Did you not? You didn't?
We no. And in fact, RJ was not the original Kid Cloud crew, was he? Yeah. So no.
We did record one episode with Phil as
Phil Harris played Baloo originally on our series. So none of that was planned. But you're right, Kissy Fur was the connection.
Oh, okay.
That was bugging me. All right, who's next?
Hello, gents. This is for the production side. And you were worried the voices were going to get it all. Surprised I never asked this before, but when did you first get wind that Disney, rather than making a show, was going to create a block of animation? Because that was kind of an oddball thing to do at the time.
If I'm not mistaken, there was a 1-hour block at one point called the Disney Hour or something. This is why they're not asking me.
But we need some really good answers.
I didn't know right away that was a Buena Vista television decision. We were just trying to sell the show. So I'm sorry, I don't know when that happened.
For me, when I started working at Disney, Tailspin was already underway, and the Disney Afternoon block was already in the planning stage. So, yeah, I have no idea either, because it was already in the works when I started.
I think maybe they realized they had gold. Let's put all this together.
I mean, DuckTales has been a hugely, creatively tremendously successful show, obviously, and I love DuckTales, but financially successful beyond anyone's wildest dreams in that time. No one was syndicating kids programming, or at least not in any major way. Disney came out and did that, and suddenly everybody leaped aboard. And so while everyone was leaping aboard, Disney was like, maybe we should leap aboard our own bandwagon. And out of that came the notion of block, and then all these networks started being created, eating up all those independent stations, which is where the block tended to air, and that kind of spelled downfall for it down the road. But let's not focus on the
Question for Weisman. Actually, 2 questions. How did most of the voice cast wind up becoming pretty much most of the cast of Star Trek TNG? And also, is there any plans to release Gargoyles on Blu-ray?
Well, I didn't hear the second part.
Gargoyles on Blu-ray.
I'll answer the second one first, because it's easier to answer. I don't know. We're very glad that all of the first and all of the second season, both volumes of Gargoyles, is out on DVD. It took years to get that second volume of season 2 out. It just came out this past year. So Blu-ray, no one's mentioned it to me. I hope it comes out on Blu-ray. I don't actually own a Blu-ray player, but I do have Young Justice, Spectacular Spider-Man on Blu-ray. I just have no way to play it. But Gargoyles, yeah. Gargoyles, I'd love it coming out on Blu-ray, but I don't know. In terms of the Star Trek actors, yeah, no one's ever asked that. No, it's fine. It really comes down to the talent of Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes. We held auditions for our lead roles on Gargoyles. Marina was the first person to come in to read. She actually read for Lisa Mazza, and we didn't think she was right for that, but we thought she might be great for Demona. But we didn't actually have any audition sides written for Demona yet. So we asked her to come back the next day, and she was the first person to read for Demona, and she just nailed it. A bit later, Jonathan Frakes came in to read for Xanatos, and we had a number of really good people, but we cast Jonathan there. And they just won the roles by audition. Not because they were Star Trek or anything, but just because they were so good for those parts. What changed then as we were going is, every week, our voice director was Jamie Thomason. So we'd be in the booth, recording the episode, and then Jamie would sort of turn to me and go, hey, what do we need next week? And I'm like, well, we've got a character who's Goliath's brother, so we need someone with really deep chops. Who could we get to play Goliath's brother? And I'm looking out, and I see Marina and Jonathan sitting there through the glass, and I'm like, well, what about Michael Dorn? Something like that. It's like we had a constant reminder of the Star Trek actors there, so it's like, oh, well, we're casting the puck to sort of say, well, what about Brent Spiner? You know, it wasn't like a plan initially, but then it sort of became one. Like, okay, well, can we get someone from every Star Trek? Because we got Michelle Nichols to play Elisa's mom, and then it became this challenge: can we get someone? And we would never do that like to the detriment of the show. Like, we never cast someone we didn't think was right for the role. But, you know, and then it didn't hurt us from a publicity standpoint. And again, I wouldn't ever cast for publicity, but I'm not going to turn it down.
Next season, there was going to be a tall British guy.
Played by William Shatner.
Now,
We actually, we had a part or two that we thought would be good for Patrick Stewart, but we couldn't afford Patrick Stewart. We were at, Jim and I, Jim and I were at a different panel in Denver, and Marina was on that panel with us, and I told that story how we couldn't get Patrick, and Marina said, oh, you can get him now. He's a whore. He'll do anything.
now, Jim, Katie, Bill, at what point did you, during Gargoyles, did you call Jim and say, what the heck, or did you call Greg and say, what the hell? We're like right down the hall.
No, Jim was Dingo. He was great. And he was the star of the spin-off show that they didn't let us make.
Yeah, that's what I saw. It was just
No, we actually recorded the pilot.
Yeah, we recorded the pilot.
All right, what's your question, sir?
Just kind of to all of you, what was your favorite show that you worked on?
Let's start down with the end of Bill. Let's go right across.
Favorite show, gosh. Different ones for different reasons. The Disney afternoon, of course, Goof Troop, which was my very first. I remember that because it was incredibly terrifying for me. Because first of all, I had just gotten the role just a couple of years before. It was my first series, and I go into the studio, and in those days we recorded ensembles, so we were all in the same room. And here I was sitting next to Jim and Frank Welker and Nancy Cartwright and Rob Paulson and April Winchell, and these are like legends in the voiceover community, and it was totally terrifying for me. And so, but it was a great experience. And I mean, you get around these guys, you're going to run way over, you know, because there's going to be a lot of cracking up. And Welker was always over there doing some damn cricket, and you know, the engineer.
We got crickets in the studio. We're gonna make money.
And but you know, worship. It was a lot of fun.
You mean my favorite Disney show, right? Yeah, well, yeah, a couple things for different reasons. One, we did Dumbo's Circus, Jimmy and I, on the Disney Channel when it first came out. And that, I was Dumbo's voice, yeah. And has anybody ever seen Dumbo's Circus? Oh, okay, cool. So, yeah, that's our show for today, boys and girls. I hope you liked it. It was really fun because it was different. It was a unique experience. It wasn't animated, obviously. It was animatronics. Yeah, they were live. And to get to be the voice, I went in the audition and read for Lily the Cat, and then they said, oh, we think you could be Dumbo. And I was like, oh, look, I got goosebumps just like this. And I was very excited. But what was great is we worked 3 days a week for about a year and a half, and that's kind of unheard of. We were really close, and so that was exciting. And then, of course, to do the gummy bears, and Parade and Lorenzo Music and oh yeah, Paul, who I grew up idolizing. I mean, it was just amazing because I was, you know, a little bit younger than those guys, and just what a blessing. So yeah, that was pretty awesome too. Your turn.
By the way, did you guys hear Darkwing Duck making announcements over the intercom? Yeah! Didn't that guy sound just like Darkwing Duck?
Yes, he was Del Smoocho, wasn't he? That's French.
So yeah, my favorite shows were the ones I was in.
What weren't you?
Like Wuzzles? Man, that's such a good show. I don't know, something missing. Oh wait, me. No, I don't know. I was the original Cheeseburger in Paradise. I was just happy to be there, you know. I worked in steel mills and unloaded things off of freight trains, 100-pound sacks, and decade on a bird boat. I'm like, wait a minute, they're gonna let me do that stuff that used to get me kicked out of class and then they'll pay me too? Okay. You know, so I was just glad to be there, but I think, you know, the coolest thing about the Disney afternoon is that it worked out that way. I don't even know if it was a plan at the beginning. It just seemed like, well, that show's pretty good. You know what, we should get another show. Where would we put it? Right before that one. We'll move this with that. Well, how about Goofy? That'd be good. Let's get Goofy and Pete back, and then it's like one thing, and then there's all these shows, and I think Jim Mexicon doesn't remember this, but it was funny. One time I had occasion just to go over to Disney TV animation for something in the middle of the afternoon. It was kind of like in the middle of the Disney afternoon run, and Jim goes out in the hallway. Oh, everybody, this is Jim Cummings, the new guy's doing all these voices. Oh, you have to have him in every show. I don't know if anybody knew that. Did you know? He's going to have to be in every show. Okay, thanks. And I went, that was a good announcement. Did anyone hear it? You know, so, but I mean, you know, Darkwing sticks out and Goof Troop, and I sure like Tailspin and Rescue Rangers, and then there was Tasmania, which was not it was on in, I think it was in night, and you know, it's funny because I always think, referencing, you know, Greg and the Gargoyles, I was thinking, boy, that's the one that got away, because that was such a cool show. Our little spin-off that, I think we did it on an afternoon, but it didn't quite make it to the Disney afternoon, but it was, technically. So, yeah, I'm just happy to be here. And hang out with you guys up here and you guys out there, so thanks for inviting me, and here's Mr. Craig.
Gargoyles is my favorite Disney afternoon. It's a huge shock. But I also want to give really credit to Jim for on Gummy Bears, because Gummy Bears was a huge inspiration for Gargoyles. Yeah, because we started out, Gargoyles was originally developed as a comedy adventure show with cute little multicolored gargoyles. They were little, about the size of the bears. They didn't bounce, but they had wings, and we very much set out, I mean, this was almost, our boss was a guy named Gary Kreisel, and Gary and another boss of mine, Bruce Cranston, and I, we loved Gummy Bears, and we just felt like it didn't get enough respect, and we blamed Care Bears. Because we thought that the audience was confusing those two shows, because they had very superficial things in common.
Bears.
Bears were multicolored, and they were little, but Gummy Bears was so great. It had this rich mythology, which Jim came up with, and the medieval setting and this rich stuff, and so we were like, we wanted to a show like that has that kind of backstory and mythology, but that
Wasn't Bears.
wasn't Bears. So instead, I have always been sort of fascinated with gargoyles, so I said, well, let's do cute little gargoyles. We'll have them, you know, in the pilot, we'll put a spell on them so they'll sleep for 1,000 years. So we'll have that medieval backstory, but then they'll wake up in the 20th century. Do you guys remember the 20th century? It was the before this one. And we pitched this comedy adventure show to Michael Eisner, who didn't like it. So we redeveloped it as an action drama show, and we put together this huge pitch, like 40, 50 art cards, all this material that we were so excited about. We loved the show, and we kept coming up with more and more ideas for it. And finally, you know, it was time to pitch to Michael, and he didn't like that either. And so we thought we were dead, but Jeffrey liked the second version. So Jeffrey sent us back to the drawing board. He said, try again. And this time we went back, and we didn't want to change the show at all. We loved the show, but we realized we had to change the pitch. So we cut tons and tons of stuff out of the pitch, all stuff that eventually did get into the show, but it was distracting from the pitch. And we made the pitch, this was Tad Stone's idea, to make it sort of focus on the Beauty and the Beast aspect of it. So I don't know if you know, there was this big movie that Disney had. He was like, Tad, who's the creator of Darkwing Duck, it was like, I think he'll be familiar with that idea, the Beauty and the Beast idea. So we focused on the Blythe and Lisa relationship. We pitched it a third time, and this time he bought it. And it was the exact same pitch, just a lot shorter. And Jeffrey turned to me in the meeting and said, wow, you added a lot to that, didn't you? I was like, yes, I did. Yeah, less is more. It's a good lesson to keep in mind. But yeah, if there hadn't been gummy bears, there never would have been Gargoyles. It's true.
Jim, you realize now you're required to say the Gummy Bears is your favorite show.
Yeah, when I came up with Gummy Bears with Art Patello, I thought, it doesn't get any better than this. I'm never going to do anything better than this. It's like, you think all your eggs are in this one basket, and then you end up doing other shows. Oh, wow. And while I love Gummy Bears for being the first show I ever worked on television, Tailspin is probably my favorite. And I would ask Jim Cummings if he would do Don Carnage briefly.
Oh, yeah! Well, son of the gun, I suppose I shall have to do this. I actually saw a gun which I tried to sneak in the show every now and then. But you know what is crazy going nuts? Because if I was not all of you, I would envy all of you because you get to meet me. That's all I'm doing. See what you did? Are you happy?
I just want you to know, I totally called it, because Double Circus was his first show, and I said, Jimmy, you're going to be a star. I called it.
Two other things, real quickly. Thank you. That was my son that asked the question. I would like Maggie to stand up. I only see the ears. I know. Did you see her? Stand up.
Put on your darling and you got a slice of change.
It's steampunkish, isn't it? That you think about it.
Yes. Not tomorrow, Mr.
It's hard to say a single show because Disney kind of saved me. I started doing Fallen. At the same time. I had fallen into animation about 8 months before, and then Hanna-Barbera, Marvel, and I was about to do the Smurfs. And at that time, I was soon-to-be first ex-wife, or soon-to-be first wife. Look, because I'm looking at the Smurfs, and she goes, it has no sex, it has no humor, it has no action. How are you going to write it? And then Jim called. But my favorite thing about Disney, it's not just the shows, is we had the most sensational group of people. I'm sure they still do. I work there occasionally, but I don't see them. We had Tom Enriquez, Hank Tucker, we had more people, really Gary Eggleston. We had just amazing artists. Half of them, if they weren't already doing features, and had come to work for us. Started out doing Paul Felix, I remember we had, he goes off on his features. It was a time period where I look back at the amount of talent in that little area. Not more than anything, more than a show, more than an episode, more than.
Mark's father.
That's right.
I had seniority of my father by 2 months. But it was just an amazing period, that Disney afternoon period.
anyone. Voiceover is usually used to be done by voiceover actors, but nowadays it's done by a lot of celebrities. So I was wondering how you guys feel about that as actors and producers of shows. Is it to get more people to watch it, or is it harder for you to watch your own shows when the celebrities are doing it versus voiceover actors? Or I don't know. Question kind of open, but I'm just curious.
About this? No, it's kind of a misnomer that it's a new process to use celebrities for voices. If you go back to Alice in Wonderland, they used Jerry Colonna, Ed Wynn. Of course, Phil Harris was well known when he did Baloo. But today, I think the problem is, and it is kind of a trend, that they will use it just for the box office. Not that the character or the actor portrays, something that like Ed Wynn was the Mad Hatter, because he was not that kind of, he like that, And they animated in those days, of course, they shot on film the scenes, and then the animators would animate basically the film with the characters, and they kind of looked like each other. But today, I think it's if a celebrity originates a role. For example, in Toy Story, I think Tom Hanks did a great job, and I think Tim Allen did a great job as Buzz Lightyear. They originated that role, and they brought something to it. But just to put in a celebrity for the sake of celebrity, without really thinking of what the type of character this is, and just for the name, no. There's so many great voice actors that can run rings around most face actors any day behind a microphone. Because the face actors have to rely on, physical characteristics, their eye movements, their, whereas a voice actor has to do it all within this one area, in the voice. And there's so many great voice talents out there that I hate to see them not all get used.
From an economic standpoint, because generally speaking, we're all just so darn happy to work and do our very best and usually get paid scale. And that's all they seem to be able to afford until they get movie stars and then they have huge budgets. So I can't quite figure that out, but I'm sure if I were a celebrity, I wouldn't be complaining about not doing work. But the thing is, too, that there's this funny catch-22. I just watched, I Know That Voice last night. Which is terrific. And I think it was Mika who expressed how much we just are happy for work. There's the joy, the Clark Kent thing, that we're like Clark Kent, right? We show up to work, we take off our glasses, we become anybody we want, we put them back on, we go home and make dinner, like normal people. And that's the joy of being a voice actor, And now with social media and all this, all of a sudden we have to be different than what we started out to be. And so there's a new sort of pressure there to be famous so that you can be cast in the role you did originally.
I hate that. Wait, and the second part of that was true, not the first part. No, one of my favorite things is to replace somebody. But yeah, I guess. No, I understand it. I mean, if Brad Pitt's in your movie, he can go on, late shows and tell everybody about it. But, and it kind of ticks me off because I had a deal out to him. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll quit dating your wife if you'll quit doing animated movies. He hasn't gotten back to me, so Angie's coming over later. But no, I get it. It's free publicity and et cetera. But on the other hand, I mean, I couldn't tell you, honestly, I couldn't tell you right now who Pinocchio was or Peter Pan. I mean, we could look it up, but it's not like kids are sitting around. I was going to go and see that new animated feature, but I heard Martin Sheen's not even in it. What the hell would I go for now? So I don't know. I get it, but we're not crazy about it, are we? Yeah, that's right. We're just crazy. Chris Rock said,
Yeah, give me $1 million.
well, see, I'd have said that for like half a million. So I could save the money. Go figure.
I don't want to disparage his memory, but that hack, Robin Williams, is a genie. I would have been replaced in a second.
No.
Wasn't he?
When that happened, I was like, how come there's not a category? How come he can't be nominated for Best Actor? That's when they didn't have any way of nominating voice actors for anything back then, and that made me boycott the what were those? Academy Awards. And after that, I didn't want to watch. Sorry. You have to be really careful with my.
In your defense, Katie, you've never worked with one before.
Even the Emmys, there was a first year of Gargoyles, Keith David got nominated for an Emmy for playing Goliath. Lost to Walter Cronkite, who was nominated for narrating a documentary. Right, exactly. You know, in other words, in those days, they literally were voiceover. It was the same category. Like anyone who wasn't appearing on camera. So it's like, what does the narration of a documentary have to do with Keith playing a character? It's ridiculous. But that's how it was because they just weren't valued. I mean, the shows that I've done recently, whether it's Star Wars Rebels or Young Justice or whatever, we're using a mix, to be honest. I mean, we're always using these great voice actors and people for whom that's their bread and butter and that's what they do. But yeah, you know, if someone's right for a role, we'll use someone who's a little more famous sometimes, not in our world, but in the larger world. But only if they're right for a role, at least in my shows. I mean, I'm not going to cast someone only for publicity value, because that just, you know, I'm not going to sacrifice my show for that. But yeah, you know, sometimes we do it if they're good.
All right. Next question.
I have two things. First thing is Jim Cummings. Jim Cummings was a very, very big fan of your work. A lot of your work, actually, because you know through the years and stuff. I'm a really big voice actor fan, and there's a lot of people whose careers that I follow, and you're one of them, so I definitely applaud you for that.
Thank you very much.
The other thing, this could be to anybody, I guess. How in the world did Launchpad make it from one show to the next? How did that happen? Like,
I think it was a helicopter, wasn't it? I'm sure it was a helicopter.
I'm not sure, but I'll look into it and get right back to you. No problem. Stay dangerous.
When I first started at Disney, there were two guys who really taught me a lot. One was Alan Zaslav, Mark's father, who taught me all about production, how a cartoon was made. And the other guy was Tad Stones, who taught me how to develop a show. Because he was developing Darkwing Duck, and he let me hang out. And it was called Double O Duck at the time. And he let me hang out and just watch as the thing morphed and emerged and changed from being a pretty shallow spy pastiche into this great sort of shadow influence, Batman influence, and, you know, superhero show that was so funny. And so I got a front row seat for that. And I think literally what it came down to is we all thought Launchpad was so damn funny. You know, we just thought he was so funny. So that idea in a show that sort of emulated the Shadow, and the Shadow always had these helpers. You know, the cab driver or this or that. The idea that he'd be saddled with Launchpad, who would also, to some extent, be his conscience, because Darkwing was, shall we say, conscience challenged. You know, we just all found really funny. And I'm blanking out on the actor who played Terry. Yeah, and Terry was so good.
He was so good we never even had him in the studio. He was living in San Francisco.
And so we just, you know, the key, we had Darkwing and, again, it was called Double O Duck at the time, but we had Double O Duck and Launchpad. pretty much from the beginning, the thing that really made that show that filled it out was the third point of that triangle, which was gospel. And Sarah.
She was my best friend.
This is Honker.
Yeah.
Gargoyle flicks #1, son.
Thank you, Dad. Now go back to watching TV.
So, finding that third point to make the show, in essence, about something and not only be a parody of this superhero thing or that whole thing. That was the key to finding it. I don't take credit, like I said, I was more like a fly on the wall there, but it was an amazing process to just construct.
I watched some episodes late. I hadn't really seen them. And the relationship, if you haven't seen Darkwing Duck, it is a wonderful, wonderful script. That, I was always into the storyline of the who was trying to destroy what, but the relationship between Darkwing and his daughter is just wonderful.
Oh, how many people here have read Duck Knight Returns?
Woo!
Just to piggyback on that one, when I started developing that at the license was with Blue Studios, we had dinner with Tad, and that was the one thing that Tad stressed, because he said that Goslin is the absolute part of the show, and that everything should sort of spin out of their relationship. And we went back and we completely reworked the first part, because some of it was in there, but once he said it, it was like, well, we need to make this much more evident. And that's exactly how that works. So and these guys, Tad, Greg, Jim, everybody that I've gotten to kind of know and talk to are so great with collaboration and just kind of like passing on that knowledge and full of these stories work. It's really great to be here moderating this panel because they're awesome.
What's so neat is it's sort of sneaky in there because the show's got all this crazy stuff and they don't have that many lines, but somehow that is the heart of it. Yeah, with all this other stuff going on, there's
Yeah, it'd be really easy to get lost in finding parody. Like, oh, it's superheroes, it's this, it's that. But really, that's who's got another question?
Hey guys. So here's my question. Voice actors, you go, you do your shows, they resonate with people, like everyone in this audience, leaves a mark on people. I've heard that to be a voice in a Disney ride is the ultimate thing that can happen to a voice actor. But what is your next adventure? What's the next big thing that all three of you are looking forward to?
our next. I did get to be the voice of Gummy Glenn when they turned part of Disneyland into a ride with Gummy Glenn. And
It was Autopia, wasn't it?
It was a boat ride. Yeah. And I got to be saying like, bye, come back. I think that's the only voice. And then I had to like beg these because I'm so cheap. I was, can anybody get me into Disneyland? And I think it was Art got me tickets.
Well, yeah, for me, I want to be in a Pixar movie, so if you want to make a phone call.
That'd be fun, that'd be fun.
Do we need to start a Twitter hashtag?
There were some things in Wreck-It Ralph, but it was Pixar-ish. Yeah. It was Pixar-ish. Or no, that's not.
Okay, so we'll settle on a hashtag before we leave today. We'll start tweeting.
Okay, good. I don't know what that means. I'm Amish.
You have a Twitter account.
Primetime series would be great.
Well, back to Flintstone. Yeah, in a series now, which if things come full circle, it's another great cast. It's a show Disney actually called the 7D. It's kind of a reinvention of the Seven Dwarfs. And it's got another, if you get a chance, I mean, it is so fun to do because it has, Maurice LaMarche, Billy West, Steve Stanton, Scotty Menville, Jess Arnell, Kelly Osbourne, myself, and I know I'm forgetting Steve Stanton. No, I think no.
What voice do you
And I I'm Doc. It's so funny, the traditional voice, I'm Sleepy. On this, I'm Doc. And,
Well, of course, Doc has kind of a high candidate. He's the inventor, and so I get to do the dumb voice with Goofy, and now I get to be a smart character.
and that's another dream cast to work with. And unfortunately, today we quite often record solo and they mix it together in post. So I really miss all that camaraderie, but when we do get together and get to record, which is infrequently, that's the real joy.
Just getting to play with my buddies.
Do you find that when you're all working together in the booth, or, you're doing recording together, you find that it leads to a lot more creativity, and you guys play off each other?
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes you get separated because of that. We did a show, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and the first season we were recording ensemble. And the late great, Wayne Allwine, who did Mickey for 25 years, we were doing one episode, and it was called Dr. Daisy. And we were ensemble together, and so Daisy comes in, Tress McNeil, who was doing Daisy, she was playing Doctor. And so we had to say the line, that Goofy had hurt his knee. And I had to say the line, "Worse, Daisy, would you blow up my boo-boo?" We're going, "Are you kidding?" And it was so funny because, I was trying to be straight and say this thing without laughing. And I started cracking up. And then Wayne chimes in, he says, "Gosh, would she blow my boo after that?" Well, Lucy Taylor, who does Manny, just lost it. She turned this grape color and fell on the floor just like, she couldn't talk for, it was like 20 minutes and the guys were like, "Okay guys, we only got 3 hours." And since that time we haven't recorded together. So that's probably the real reason why. But it does bring out a lot of creativity, some of which they don't want.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question.
Hi, this is my first convention, so this is all really new to me, but,
welcome.
Thank you. I'm working at Mickey Mouse Clubhouse because I have a 14-month-old daughter who had to be taken out because she was fussing, and I watched Mickey Mouse Clubhouse multiple times a day, so it's awesome to finally see in person and a face for Goofy. And I remember that episode specifically, Daisy Being Doctor. So to have you say, that I'm never going to see it as a say. And I guess, such an awesome voice. But this takes me to the next question for Jim. Tigger has been a favorite of mine for as long as I can remember. And, I thought I had kind of grown out of it. I'm getting into comic books now. And then you guys did your announcement. And I heard his voice, and I swear I jumped up and lit up like I was 5. And it was so amazing. So I guess the question, sorry, I'm going to take over, is what is it like for you to be able to play such an awesome character like Tigger, to have the energy to have just that impact on people?
Well, I don't know. I'll have to stop and think about it for a second. Hold on there. It's coming to me. Wait a second. No, that wasn't it. It's pretty good.
I'm just very blessed. I thank God every day, that I always joke at the stuff used to get me kicked out of class. I did impressions of those guys when, a million years ago, like when I was in the audience, and never in a million years if I think I'd grow up and end up being the voice of Winnie the Pooh or anybody in particular. Although I actually did want to do that, and it was Paul Winchell's fault. And Melvin's, because I remember seeing him on TV and my dad goes, "See this guy right here? See this character right here? No, this guy right here, yeah. This guy does Bugs Bunny, and Daffy Duck, and Matt Taz, and then Foghorn." I went, "No kidding." And I remember thinking, wow, he's getting paid to do stuff gets me in trouble. So the answer is that it's awesome, and it's wonderful, and it's beautiful, and I'm happy about it. And you know, it's nice to make, and it's, as you got your goosebumps, thanks, I like giving you goosebumps.
I'm going to feel more stress when it's home, won't you?
See, I knew I was going to get awe. All you need to do is, once you get an awe, you're good. Okay.
You know what, actually, I think we have time for one more quick question. Does someone want to do a lightning round question here?
Yes, Bill.
When you're not doing an established voice that already exists, how do you find that character voice? Like when you're doing a brand new, how do you find it? Or where do you go? How do you go with it? Where's your Eureka moment of, this is the voice of...
Well, when we audition, if we're lucky, they'll give us a picture, and they'll give us a character description that makes sense. And, you know, so we look at we think about the relationship, they'll give you, tell you a little bit, and that informs the character. We've all got probably 20 different characters we can grab based on certain, and then you look, is the character's mouth drawn like this, and we all talk like this, and does it say that he's really loud, and we all go like this, or maybe he talks like this, and let's get a little bit closer to the microphone. Just, so you just use your imagination, that's how I do it. How do you do it?
It's absolutely the same thing. You just got to look at the character, kind of get a feel for it. If he's got, let's say, he's smoking a cigar,
You might want to go, with a deeper voice, kind of a gravelly thing, or if he's country kind of looking hick, you might be kind of put on a country sort of thing, or if you're kind of doing a celebrity kind of voice, you just kind of morph into that guy, and you just kind of look at him and just get a feel for it, and you try out a few, record a few, you kind of look at the character, and you play him back, and you go, yeah, that's what that guy would sound like, and then you send it in and hope for the best.
I don't know, I started out as a mime and I just failed miserably. I'm the worst mime in the world. It's like, we can hear you! So I'm just glad it worked out. I have no idea how to do this stuff. I'm making it up as I go along. I made that up. Yeah, but he's smart.
I can't remember what they are, but, different tools.
I used to do impressions of my relatives and stuff like that, If you do, I'll tell you this, if you do a bad impression of someone famous, nobody knows who it is, you have a new character. If you have a perfect impression of somebody that is not famous, nobody, like it's your mailman, you have a new character. So that's kind of the way I cheat my way through it. Tell anyone though. I don't know, I think he was Don Carnage. Wait a minute, how about down there? Because I think he's like the first Monty Python character ever given.
It started from a piece called Wanda, Kevin Kline's character. And then we wanted to call him Anthrax. The Dread Pirate Anthrax from Princess Bride, Cake. And then, unfortunately, the legal department said we can't use Anthrax as the band. Even after we pointed out that it is a sheep disease type of thing. So, and then we couldn't go straight there, and then you sort of fell through that.
Something went terribly wrong.
Oh, you guys want to just do another hour and say to hell with the other panel? I wish we could. I just want to thank, I just want to thank everybody on the panel here, Bill, Katie, Jim, Greg, Jim. You guys have completely shaped what I love about animation and this medium, and I feel completely honored to be just standing up here in your presence. If you guys would like to meet these talented people, they will be heading back to booth 309 right now to do some signing, photo ops. I think if you'd like, and you can purchase some Gargoyle voicemails and Homer voicemails and things like that. and the goof, and you know, you can have them on your answering machine, and there's plenty of prints and things like that, and just get to meet these amazing icons of these things that we love. So thank you for coming out.